Hey guys, it's Jackstown and welcome back to another video. So the Super Bowl was a couple days ago, and unfortunately it was a pretty disappointing game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers completely blew out the Kansas City Chiefs, totally dominated them, and congrats to the Buccaneers on winning the Super Bowl, but unfortunately for us fans, it wasn't the greatest or most exciting game. But the good news is, it did get me thinking about all the different Super Bowls in the past, and thinking about how, for the most part, they have been very exciting games and very good games. And meanwhile, however, there have been some disappointing games as well. So that got me into thinking that I should make another tier list video because I love making tier list videos. I've done several of them on the channel. Link will be in the description for some of the previous ones. It's always a good time to do them. And so for today's video, we're going to be doing a Super Bowl tier list video, and we're going to rank every Super Bowl based on how great the game was from an unbiased fan since 2000. So that's basically, that's what we're going to do. Now, before we get into the video, I noticed a couple problems with this tier list, and that is that they missed a few of the games, and that is the third Super Bowl in this century, which was the Patriots and Rams, the first time they played Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. That's not there. It should be between the Ravens and the Buccaneers right here, right between there, but I'll insert it. I'll talk about it. I'll put it in. I'll edit it later. I'll add it to the tier list. And then the two most recent Super Bowls also are not on this list, maybe because just this tier list was made a couple years back. I will be adding the Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl, and then I'll be also adding the Super Bowl from 2 days ago, which is Super Bowl 55 between the Bucs and Chiefs. So basically, just how good the game was from an objective point of view is basically where I think the game belongs on this tier. So S tier are for the best of the best games, and then D tier are for the snooze fests. So without further ado, let's get into this video, guys. So we're going to start off, guys, with the first Super Bowl of the 21st century, which was Super Bowl, 34, between the St. Louis Rams and the Tennessee Titans. Now, this was a very good game. Somewhat low scoring. I think it was 23-16. The Rams won because Mike Jones made the most incredible tackle, one of the most incredible defensive plays of all time, when he tackled Kevin Dyson, the Titans receiver, 1 yard short of the goal line from tying the game, or with the game-tying touchdown as time expired. So he saved the game. He made the game-saving tackle. That was a really good game. I don't think it quite deserves to be an S tier, but I still think it was a really good game, and that defensive play was legendary. So I think it was a great game, very good game, if not great. So it deserves to be an A tier in my opinion. Next game, Ravens and Giants. Now, this was strictly a defensive game. It was between, the Ravens and Giants. Ravens, maybe the best defensive team, or one of the best defensive teams we've ever seen, led by Ray Lewis. And, that was his prime. I mean, that was him at his finest. And the Giants were also a defensive team for the most part, but they were absolutely dominated by the Ravens. I think it was 34-7. It was definitely a boring game. So unfortunately, it's going to have to go in the D tier because it was not a close or exciting game at any point. The Ravens totally dominated. Next, Buccaneers and Raiders. Actually, no, I missed one. The Rams and Patriots. Now, this was the one that was not on the list for some reason, and this was when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. It was a low-scoring game, but Tom Brady did lead the game-winning drive, I believe, and Adam Vinatieri made the game-winning field goal, so that was a really good game, and I'm kind of debating between A and B tier, but I think it's going to go in B tier only because it was a low-scoring game. It was kind of a scrappy game, and even though the Patriots did a great job stopping the greatest show on turf, which was the Rams, it still wasn't, high-scoring enough. I don't think it was back and forth. It was kind of just like a great drive at the end. It was still close, still exciting, but I don't think it's considered a great game, so I think it belongs in B tier. All right, next we have Buccaneers and Raiders. This was the Buccaneers' first of now 2 franchise championships, Super Bowls in franchise history, and they won this game with defense, or the team was defensive oriented, but they won this game in a high-scoring affair. I think it was like 48-23. They did a really good job defending the Raiders quarterback, who was Rich Gannon at the time, who was the oldest MVP, I believe, in NFL history, or no, Tom Brady broke, but at the time he was the oldest MVP, and they did a great job defensively, and the game was high scoring, so it doesn't deserve to be in D tier despite the fact that it was a blowout, so I think it belongs in C tier. Alright, the next one is Patriots and Panthers. Now, this was Tom Brady versus Jake Delhomme, I think, for the Panthers. Yeah, and this was their first of 2 Super Bowl appearances. Haven't won the Super Bowl yet, unfortunately. But this was a close game. I think it was 32-29, and the Patriots were ahead for most of the game, so I don't think it came down to like the last play, but it was still close. It was still high scoring. It was entertaining. I would say it was a pretty good game, so I'm going to put it in B tier. And yeah, that should be alongside the Patriots game, Rams game, which I will add in afterwards. And then, okay, next we have the Patriots and Eagles for the first time. This is the first of their 2 matchups because they would face off again a few years ago, which would be over a decade later now. But at the time, it would be over a decade later. Yeah, so the Eagles and Patriots, this was another close game. Donovan McNabb against Tom Brady, and the Patriots won their third title in a span of 4 years. It was kind of like the Panthers game. It was a close game, kind of down to the wire, but like not like a nail-biter, like edge of your seat, like incredible finish, but it was still a solid game. So I think it deserves to be in the same tier as the previous Super Bowl. So I think it's a B tier. This next game was Steelers and Seahawks. Now, this was a defensive game as well, and it was Big Ben's first championship, first of 2 championships, against Matt Hasselbeck's Seahawks. And this was a low-scoring game, kind of ugly. I think it was 21-10. Steelers won this with defense. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but they were in control most of the game. It wasn't super exciting, but it also wasn't a bad game. So I think it's an okay game. So I think it deserves to be in the C tier. All right, the next game is Colts and Bears. Now, this was Peyton Manning's first championship, and the Colts' first championship as a franchise. And I believe the Bears, who was their starter? Was it Rex Grossman? Yeah, it was Rex Grossman, I think. And the Bears, like most years when they're really good, they were mainly a defensive team, defensive-oriented. And that's why they got to the Super Bowl. And I think they started off the game with Devin Hester kickoff return for a touchdown. Devin Hester, definitely the greatest return man of all time. But then after that, I believe they were outscored 29-10 by Peyton Manning and the Colts. So it wasn't too close of a game after that. So I think it deserves to be in C tier. All right, the next game. Now, this game, I think, which is Patriots and Giants, which is known famously, or infamously, depending on which side you're on, for the David Tyree helmet catch from Eli Manning, where he just threw it up into the air and David Tyree caught it with his helmet. Yeah, all you NFL fans know that. So yeah, it was definitely in the conversation for the greatest catch of all time, I would say. And that game was so close, and it was just such a classic. So I think that's going to be our first S-tier Super Bowl, guys. So our next game is Steelers and Cardinals. Yeah, so this was another great game. I think this was like the first game I remember fully watching, like start to finish. And it was a great game. This was Big Ben's second title. And kind of like with the David Tyree play, it did come down to the wire, and it was higher scoring. I think Kurt Warner was the quarterback for the Cardinals, and Larry Fitzgerald had like one of the greatest playoff runs. And like the drive before, the Steelers were ahead, and the Cardinals, Kurt Warner threw like a 75-yard touchdown pass to Larry Fitzgerald, who just ran right up the middle. It was like a catch and like a 70-yard run after the catch, something like that, something crazy like that. And they took the lead, but then the Steelers came right back, and with the legendary Santonio Holmes back of the end zone catch, the Steelers won the game on a game-winning drive, and it was definitely a classic. So this is gonna go in S tier as well, I think. So we have back-to-back S tiers. Next game is Saints and Colts. Now, this was also I think this was also a good game. This was the Saints' first and only Super Bowl in franchise history. So yeah, this was a big game for them, and it was a close game. I think it came down to, like, with 3 minutes left, the Saints were up by a touchdown, and Peyton Manning came up the field, and they were past midfield, and they had a chance to tie the game. But then Peyton Manning threw a back-breaking pick six to Tracy Porter, and he returned it for a touchdown, which is what a pick six is, obviously. So yeah, he returned it for a touchdown, and that pretty much sealed the game, put it away. So it was an exciting game, but so I'm going to say it belongs in B tier instead of the A tier. I think it was a very good game. I don't think it quite deserves to be an A or S tier, but it was still definitely a very good game. All right, next game. This was Steelers and Packers. Aaron Rodgers' first and only Super Bowl appearance and championship. So yeah, so this was Aaron Rodgers' first and only Super Bowl championship, and it was in Jerry World in Dallas. It was a close game against Big Ben's Steelers, and it came down to the wire. It was a pretty high-scoring game. I think it was like 28-23. Really exciting, back and forth. And I think you know what? I think this deserves to be an A tier. I think it was a really good game. It wasn't ugly. Like, there weren't I don't think there were any turnovers, or if there were, it was a really back and forth game, pretty high scoring. It wasn't like one of these scrappy, ugly games. Came down to the last plays. I think Big Ben had a chance to win the game on the final drive, but the Packers did get the stop. So yeah, really good game. All right, now we have the second time the Patriots and Giants played each other in the Super Bowl, or Tom Brady versus Eli Manning for the second time, and somehow, some way, for the second time, Eli won again over Tom Brady. This game was almost as great as the first game. It was still low scoring, but it did come down to the wire, just like the other game, similar format to the game. And Eli once again made an incredible throw to Mario Manningham. As he was going out of bounds, he made the catch against like 3 Patriot defenders, and it was just an incredible pass by Eli. And yeah, great game, and they won on the game-winning drive, just like the first time. So I'm debating between S and A tier, but I'm going to put it in A tier because I think that first Super Bowl is in a little higher of a tier, or compared to the 2 games in S tier, I think this is not quite as good, but it's still a very good, borderline great game. I would say, yeah, it definitely was a great game. So yeah, all right, next game. This is the Ravens and 49ers. This was when Joe Flacco led the Ravens to the title over Colin Kaepernick's 49ers. Now, this game was, I definitely remember this game. This was a great game. I think the Ravens were up like 21-3 or something like that, and then Cap brought them back, and I think they tied the game. I think they even tied the game, or they got really close to tying it within a point or something, and then there was like a power outage in the third quarter, so some drama there, and it came down to the final drive, and Colin Kaepernick, I think they were like in the red zone. The 49ers were in the red zone and with a chance to win the game, but with the Ravens seemingly always have a good defense, they got the stop in the red zone and they were able to win the game. So it's definitely, I think that this was a great game. So I'm going to put it in A tier. Not quite S tier, but still a great game for sure. Very enjoyable Super Bowl. High scoring as well. I think it was like 32-29 or something like that. All right, the next Super Bowl, as far as I can remember, this was the worst Super Bowl in my opinion, because the Seahawks and Broncos, it was like the biggest blowout I think in Super Bowl history. It was like 43-8, and Peyton Manning's Broncos, I mean, they had like the best offense of all time. Peyton Manning had record-setting numbers across the board, and the Seahawks maybe had the greatest secondary of all time. Who knows? Or one of them for sure, Legion of Boom, and they just absolutely shut down the Broncos and Peyton Manning. I think on the first snap of the game, I think the Broncos like snapped it over Peyton's head, and it like went into their own end zone, and it was a safety. It was just a disaster right from the start. Total blowout, total beatdown. So that was definitely a snooze fest. I'm gonna say that's a D tier Super Bowl. All right. Next one, Seahawks and Patriots. And this game, right after the D tier Super Bowl, we have a... Oh, what happened here? Oh, yeah, so I don't know what happened there. Something just cut out for a second. Yeah, we have our third S-tier Super Bowl of the 21st century. Yeah, this game was incredible. Legendary for the Malcolm Butler interception right at the goal line. Tom Brady and the Patriots were down 2 possessions going into the fourth quarter, but he drove them, or he made 2 incredible drives and the go-ahead drive to give them the lead, and then the Seahawks pushed it down themselves. Jermaine Kearse made an incredible catch, like right in front of, like, right at the 5-yard line or something, and instead of handing the ball off to beast mode, which is arguably the stupidest decision in NFL history. Pete Carroll, what are you doing? Instead of handing it off to beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, they decide to throw the ball, and boy did it cost them, because an undrafted rookie corner in Malcolm Butler picked off Russell Wilson right at the goal line, and the Patriots won. Just an absolute classic game. Definitely deserves to be an S tier. All right, the next game, Broncos and Panthers. Now, this one hurts me a little bit because I really was rooting for Cam Newton this year, the year he won the MVP, and he was dabbing all over the place, and they were like 15-1. It just seemed like it was meant to be, and they blew by every opponent until they got to the Super Bowl, where I believe they were still favored. But Peyton Manning, a washed-up Peyton Manning, was led by his defense, the legendary defense that the Broncos had that year, led by Von Miller. They absolutely harassed Cam Newton and totally prevented that magical run from culminating in a championship, and the Broncos won a scrappy, ugly game. I think it was like 26-10. I don't know if it quite deserves... What's going on with this mouse right here? Jeez. I don't know if it quite deserves to be in the D tier, but I'm going to say... I mean, it could be in D tier. I'm going to put it in C tier. Okay, sorry about that, guys. They were still... I don't know why. My computer's like lagging. I don't know why. Sorry about that. All right, anyways, next game. Patriots and Falcons. Now, this has an argument to be the best game that I've ever seen, or at best Super Bowl I've ever seen. I mean, this was an amazing game. I don't think anyone will ever forget this game. All you have to say, especially to Falcons fans, is 28-3, and somehow Tom Brady and the Patriots came back, and the Falcons still haven't won a championship in franchise history, and I feel so bad about it. I was definitely rooting for the Falcons. Totally thought the game was over, just like everyone else. But the Patriots came back, tied the game at 28, won in overtime. They won the coin toss and marched right down the field. Tom Brady did it again, and I think this was the game that solidified him as the GOAT, and it was just an absolutely incredible game. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to forget that anytime soon. Definitely an S tier. All right, this next game, Patriots and Eagles, another great game. Right after the Falcons and Patriots had a classic the year before, we had another classic, and this game not only had the most combined yards in playoff history or Super Bowl history or playoff history. It was the most combined yards in any NFL game ever. And this is crazy to me. I mean, it's just so high scoring. I think it was 41-33. And I think most of America was rooting for Nick Foles and the underdog. Or were they underdogs? Well, they were kind of underdogs going into the playoffs because after Carson Wentz got hurt, no one thought Nick Foles could, as a backup, could lead the Eagles to the championship. But that's exactly what he did. He had an incredible NFC championship game against the Vikings, then followed it up with an even better game, arguably, against the Patriots. And he won a shootout against Tom Brady in the highest scoring game ever with the result that America wanted in a close game. I mean, that's just everything you could ask for in a Super Bowl. And yeah, a super great game. And obviously the Philly special, which was the trick play where Trey Burton threw the touchdown pass to Nick Foles, is going to go down in history. That was an incredible play. I think it definitely deserves to be an S tier. All right, the last Super Bowl that they have here on the tier list, but I will add two more, is Patriots and Rams. And right after two S tier Super Bowls, we're going to have our third D tier. This game was the lowest scoring game in, I think, yeah, Super Bowl history. Right after, I think, the highest scoring or the highest yardage game, we had the lowest scoring, biggest snooze fest. It was like 3-3 going into the fourth quarter, and Tom Brady did finally break through, and Julian Edelman, he fed him several times. He won the Super Bowl MVP, Edelman did. That doesn't take away from the fact that this was an awful Super Bowl. Super low scoring, boring game. Rams could do nothing, absolutely shut down. Yeah, just not a good game. All right, we got two more that I will add in after the video is done recording. And that is Chiefs 49ers. Now, this was a really good Super Bowl. Borderline great. I think it deserves to be... I'm going to put it in A tier because this was Patrick Mahomes' first Super Bowl, and he only has one so far because he lost 2 days ago. But yeah, the Chiefs' first Super Bowl in 50 years, and the 49ers had a great defense. They locked down Mahomes. It was 20-10. The Niners were up going to the fourth quarter. Mahomes had thrown 2 picks. It looked like their backs were against the wall, but Mahomes brought them back with 2 straight touchdown drives. And then, yeah, they got some stops, and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't put the game away when he had the chance to. The Chiefs came back and won the game in the fourth quarter, so I think that was a great game. So it deserves to be an A tier for sure. Deserves to be in that the high tier that it is. And then the Super Bowl from 2 days ago, guys. I hate to say it, but that's gonna have to go in D tier. Our fourth D tier, and our final Super Bowl on this list will be ending the video with a D tier because this was not a good game, honestly. It's just like the Chiefs absolutely were dominated by the Bucs defense. Great job by Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator. But yeah, they could do nothing. It was a snooze fest. Second half, we thought, oh, the Chiefs are only down like 2 possessions. They can come back and win. And Mahomes did what he could. You know, I don't blame him. But that Bucs defense just, I mean, they schemed so well. And unfortunately, you know, you credit the defense I mean, when defense steps up like that, you're going to win the Super Bowl, and it's great for the team. And I mean, that's what you should do. The defense has got to step up. But for the unbiased fan, it wasn't an exciting game, so unfortunately it's going to have to go in D tier. So that's going to end our video, guys. Thanks again, as always, for watching. If you enjoy sports, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video if you enjoyed the video, and yeah, also subscribe if you like, you know, comedy or video games or movies or TV shows, because I also sometimes talk about that stuff. You can expect some comedy skits and maybe some streaming coming in the future, like I said in my last video, so look out for that, guys. Thanks again, as always, and I'll talk to you guys later.